The camera panned across the gleaming hood of the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ, its carbon fiber body catching the golden light of sunset as it roared down the coastal highway. Behind the wheel, Marcus Chen's eyes narrowed with focus, his hands gripping the steering wheel with the confidence of someone who belonged there, despite what everyone had told him. The engine's symphony echoed against the cliffs, drawing the attention of everyone within earshot. This wasn't just a car. This was Vindication. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the channel. I'm about to take you through the most incredible journey of rejection, perseverance, and sweet, sweet redemption that'll have you believing anything is possible. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you've ever been underestimated, because trust me, by the end of this story, you'll be ready to prove the doubters wrong just like Marcus did. Marcus wasn't born into wealth. Far from it. The son of immigrant parents who ran a small convenience store in the outskirts of Boston, he grew up watching his parents work 14-hour days, 7 days a week. His childhood bedroom wall wasn't decorated with posters of superheroes or sports stars but with carefully cut-out magazine photos of supercars, vehicles so far beyond his reality that they might as well have been spaceships. "Dreams are good, son," his father would say in his heavily accented English, "but remember that dreams without work are just fantasies." Those words became Marcus's mantra. While other kids played video games, Marcus studied. While his high school friends went to parties, Marcus worked part-time jobs and saved every penny. His parents wanted him to become a doctor or lawyer, stable, respected professions, but Marcus had other ideas. He saw opportunity in the emerging tech world, a place where innovation mattered more than pedigree. College was a struggle, financially and emotionally. Marcus attended a state university on a partial scholarship, working nights at the campus library and weekends at a local electronics store. His roommates didn't understand his drive, his refusal to join them for weekend adventures or spring break trips. "You're missing out on the college experience," they'd tell him. Maybe they were right, but Marcus wasn't there for the experience. He was there for what came after. It was during his junior year that he began developing his first app, a simple tool to help small business owners manage inventory more efficiently. The idea had come to him while watching his parents struggle with their store's stock management. Nights blurred into mornings as he coded, fueled by instant ramen and determination. When he wasn't in class or at work, he was hunched over his laptop, building something he believed in. The app wasn't an overnight success. In fact, its launch was met with deafening silence. But Marcus persisted, making improvements, reaching out to potential users, offering free trials to local businesses including his parents' store. Slowly, very slowly, users trickled in. Then, a small business magazine featured his app in a Tools to Watch section. The trickle became a stream. By graduation, Marcus was making enough from subscription fees to rent a tiny apartment and focus on his business full-time. It wasn't glamorous, he ate a lot of pasta, his furniture was second-hand, and he still couldn't afford health insurance, but he was his own boss, building something that helped people. 3 years passed this way. Marcus expanded his product line, hiring 2 employees who worked remotely to keep costs down. His apps gained traction, particularly among small to mid-sized businesses that couldn't afford enterprise-level solutions but needed more than basic tools. He wasn't rich, but he was comfortable enough to occasionally browse Supercar websites late at night, the childhood dream still burning quietly within him. Then came the opportunity that would change everything. A major software company expressed interest in acquiring Marcus's suite of business tools. The negotiations were intense, stretching over months. Marcus couldn't afford fancy lawyers, so he educated himself, reading books on business acquisition, staying up all night to understand the fine print of every offer. His parents worried he was being taken advantage of, but Marcus knew the value of what he'd built. When the deal finally closed, the number on the check was substantial, not never work again money, but certainly life-changing money. After paying taxes and setting aside funds for his next venture, Marcus allowed himself to consider the dream that had decorated his childhood walls. Could he? Should he? The first dealership he visited was a Ferrari showroom in downtown Boston. Dressed in jeans and a simple button-down shirt, his nice clothes, Marcus approached the gleaming cars with reverence. He'd researched exhaustively, knew the specifications of each model better than most salespeople, and had calculated exactly what he could afford. A salesman approached, his smile tightening almost imperceptibly as he assessed Marcus. "Just looking?" he asked, the question more statement than inquiry. "Actually, I'm interested in the F8 Tributo," Marcus replied, pointing to the magnificent vehicle in the center of the showroom. The salesman's laugh was polite but dismissive. "That's a popular one to admire. Perhaps I could show you something more accessible? We do have some pre-owned options that might better suit your situation." Marcus felt heat rising in his cheeks but kept his voice level. "I'd like to test drive the F8, please." "I'm afraid that's not possible without serious buying intent," the salesman said. "Our policy on vehicles in this category is quite strict." "I have serious buying intent," Marcus insisted. The salesman's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Sir, the F8 Tributo starts at over $270,000. Perhaps you're not fully aware of the investment required." Marcus knew the price down to the dollar, including options. "I understand the price point." "Even so," the salesman continued, "we typically work with clients who have established relationships with our brand or can demonstrate certain financial qualifications." The message was clear: you don't belong here. You're not a buyer. Marcus left the showroom with burning ears and a hardened resolve. He visited 3 more dealerships that week with similar results. At one, they refused to let him sit in the display model. At another, they steered him toward their most basic model, insisting it was more than enough car for someone like you. At the third, they simply ignored him until he left. The experiences stung, but they also fueled something in Marcus. This wasn't just about buying a car anymore, it was about proving he belonged in spaces that wanted to exclude him. He remembered all the times he'd been underestimated, by teachers who assumed the immigrant son wouldn't excel, by classmates who thought his focus on work made him boring, by investors who questioned whether someone so young could create valuable software. Instead of giving up, Marcus changed tactics. He reached out to private sellers and smaller, more specialized dealerships. He networked with car enthusiasts online, joining forums and building relationships. Through these connections, he heard about a boutique dealership in Miami that specialized in exotic cars and prided itself on a different kind of customer experience. Marcus flew to Miami the following weekend. The dealership was located in a discreet warehouse district, away from the flashy main strips. Inside, the space was more like a luxury gallery than a traditional showroom. Instead of pushy salespeople, he was greeted by Jake Sullivan, the owner, a former race car driver with a genuine passion for exceptional vehicles. "What brings you to us?" Jake asked, offering Marcus an espresso as they walked among the carefully curated collection. Marcus shared his story honestly, including his recent experiences. Jake nodded, unsurprised. "Unfortunately, that's common in this industry," Jake said. "Some dealers forget that passion for these machines isn't limited to people who look a certain way or come from certain backgrounds." He paused beside a stunning Lamborghini Aventador SVJ in Verde Mantis, an almost electric shade of green. "This just came in last week. Want to take her out?" 2 hours later, Marcus was signing paperwork. The Aventador wasn't what he'd initially planned to buy, but the moment he'd heard its V12 engine roar to life, he'd been smitten. It was audacious, unapologetic, everything he wanted to be. "You know," Jake said as he handed over the keys, "cars like these aren't just transportation. They're statements. The question is, what do you want yours to say?" Marcus knew exactly what his statement would be. The drive back to Boston took 2 days. Marcus could have shipped the car, but he wanted the experience of the journey, of bonding with this machine that represented so much more than transportation. Each mile increased his confidence behind the wheel, each stop for gas brought conversations with wide-eyed admirers. For someone who had spent most of his life trying not to draw attention, the experience was both uncomfortable and exhilarating. He saved his most significant stop for last, the Ferrari dealership where he'd first been dismissed. Marcus parked the Lamborghini directly in front of the showroom windows, making no effort to be discreet. The Aventador's distinctive profile and vibrant green paint ensured every eye inside turned to look. The same salesman stepped outside, his expression a mixture of confusion and dawning recognition as Marcus emerged from the driver's seat. "Beautiful day for a drive," Marcus said pleasantly. "I just picked up my new car and thought I'd stop by to thank you." "Thank me?" the salesman asked, unable to hide his bewilderment. "Yes," Marcus replied. "If you'd treated me with respect, I might have purchased the F8 from you. Instead, you helped me discover something that suits me better." He gestured toward the Lamborghini. "Sometimes rejection is just redirection." The salesman's face reddened. We have certain protocols." "I understand," Marcus interrupted. "And I'm sure those protocols serve you well with most people. I just wanted you to know that, someone like me, had options you didn't consider." He extended his hand. "No hard feelings." After a moment's hesitation, the salesman shook his hand, his grip firm but his eyes unable to meet Marcus's. It wasn't about humiliation, Marcus had experienced enough of that feeling himself to wish it on others. It was about visibility, about expanding the salesman's understanding of who might belong in his showroom. As Marcus drove away, he felt a complex mix of emotions. Vindication, certainly. Pride in what he'd accomplished. But also a strange emptiness. The chase, building his business, securing the acquisition, even obtaining the car, had consumed him for so long. What would drive him now? The answer came unexpectedly. A week after bringing the Lamborghini home, Marcus received a message through one of the car enthusiast forums he'd joined. It was from a teenager named Dev who had seen Marcus's car at a local coffee shop and recognized it from his posts. "Your story inspired me," Dev wrote. "I'm the son of Indian immigrants, and I've always loved cars, but never thought someone with my background could be part of that world. Seeing you with that Aventador changed something for me. Would you consider mentoring me about business? I have ideas but don't know where to start." That message led to coffee, which led to Marcus reviewing Dev's business plan for an app focused on connecting car enthusiasts. The idea had potential, but needed refinement. Marcus found himself energized by Dev's raw enthusiasm, reminded of his own early days of building something from nothing. Soon, Marcus was regularly mentoring not just Dev but several other young entrepreneurs from backgrounds similar to his own, first-generation Americans, children of immigrants, young people from neighborhoods where tech startups weren't part of the conversation. He used his connections to help them network, his experience to help them avoid pitfalls, and occasionally, his Lamborghini to open doors that might otherwise have remained closed. The car that had been purchased as a statement of personal achievement became something more, a symbol of possibility for others who had been told, in ways both subtle and direct, that certain dreams weren't for them. Marcus's next business venture grew from this experience, a combination incubator, educational platform, and investment fund specifically designed to support entrepreneurs from underrepresented backgrounds. He called it Redirection Capital, a nod to the lesson he'd learned from rejection. 5 years after being told he wasn't a buyer, Marcus stood on stage at a major tech conference, the keynote speaker for a session on inclusive entrepreneurship. From the audience, faces looked up at him with the same expression he'd once had looking at magazine cutouts of supercars, a hunger to believe that impossible things might be possible after all. "The most dangerous limitations," he told the crowd, "are the ones we accept without questioning. Someone once decided I didn't look like a supercar owner, and if I had believed them, I wouldn't be. Someone decided people from neighborhoods like mine don't build successful tech companies, and if we believe that, we won't." In the parking lot outside, his Lamborghini sat among other luxury vehicles belonging to conference attendees, no longer a shocking anomaly but simply one impressive car among many. And that, perhaps, was the greatest victory of all, making the exceptional seem possible, even expected. The journey from the small convenience store to the keynote stage hadn't been direct or easy. There had been failures along the way, investments that didn't pan out, relationships that suffered from his focus on work, moments of doubt where he questioned his own worth. But standing before a new generation of dreamers, Marcus understood that the value of his story wasn't in its conclusion but in its continuation, in the doors it opened for others to write their own narratives of defying expectations. So if you're watching this and someone has ever told you, you're not a buyer, or this isn't for people like you, or be realistic about your dreams, remember Marcus's story. Remember that rejection is sometimes just redirection to something better. Remember that the people who judge what you can achieve based on how you look or where you come from are operating with limited imagination. And if you've been moved by this journey from dismissal to triumph, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. We bring you stories like this every week, real people breaking barriers and redefining what's possible. The camera made one final sweep across the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ, now parked at the edge of a cliff overlooking the ocean, the setting sun painting its green surface with gold. Marcus leaned against the car, arms crossed, expression serene. The supercar had taken the spotlight, but the real story was the man who had refused to accept other people's definitions of who he could be. Because sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is simply showing up in spaces where people like you aren't expected, and belonging there anyway.